Hey everyone, welcome back to Verified Gains. Happy Monday. We're about halfway through June, and may I remind you, we're about 3 months away from my proposed Bitcoin cycle top, which is going to be around September 15th. And today I'm just going to give you a brief overview of, I've made many videos, but I think now might be a good chance to review it, and we'll go from there. Over the week, all the way back to a low of $102,000. And so I went ahead and said, how far do I expect to price to move down? And I went ahead and tried to make sense out of it by drawing a trend line. So that is the line depicted by the white color over here. And I think it's a pretty good trend line. It is legitimate. It was also, and one point that I would like to make is long shadow to the downside. Now, this is a little different from what we used to see before, which is the red candle with the long shadow to the downside. So I usually expect there to be the formation of a real, okay? You have a long shadow, meaning the skinny part of the candlestick extending, which is greater in magnitude compared to the thicker part of this line over here, then the market tends to retest and fill through the shadow. And that is actually shown by over here. So if you can see over here, see how eventually we start forming candles where the thick part of the candle actually reaches, and then that's what I call and humble experience. They usually happen largely with red candles. So now the question is, and that is really an important question because from a technical perspective and a big picture perspective, one, if we assume that kind of pattern only happens with red candles, or number two, if we start to see an irrational market with great volume, the real body there, $1 million question, quite literally, to see if we run away from here because we're starting to form this green candle. RSI looks good. We're bouncing off the white trend line. And if we consolidate above $106,000, then there's a likely possibility. But I'm really hoping we do run away pattern where my thesis is coming from. And as you can see, we're starting to form that nice pattern over here where the 111-day moving average is starting to curve up. And if we start to see some exponential move to the upward, a pattern that is similar to over here where we're going to have some. I admit I'm not the original author of this thesis. However, so dating back to 2012 cycle, we see that the bear market bottom, so back in 2012, that was around 372 days. Then we basically copy paste the time frame to the future. And what we see is that high cycle second one, arguably in 2021, but this is more substantial, as you can see. And basically, the pi cycle top was around the 370-day time frames. So during the 2016-2017 cycle, the bear market low around January of 2015 to the halving date was around 540 days. And when we extend that to the future, extrapolated if you will, the pi cycle top was around the 539-day mark from the halving date. 2019, 2020, 2021 cycle, 514 days from the bear market low to the halving date, 514 days. Now, look, this is the one exception. And now, technically, the pi cycle top was actually before the 514-day mark. However, it was clearly a pi cycle top, 514 days right before the top happens. And on this day, the $55,000 And during the Pi cycle top, it was around $59,000, $60,000. So yes, it was not as high as the actual Bitcoin. However, in this case, it probably would have been wiser to just pull out 514 days. So what is happening now? So the bear market bottom was over here around November of 2022, and the time to halving date was around 516 days. Now, if I extrapolate that to the future, that's where I'm coming up with the mid-September. The Pi cycle top would signal. But it probably doesn't necessarily mean this is when I'm going to sell my crypto. The way that I'm approaching it is I would like to think that in about 3 months, the Pi cycle top is going to signal. Do you see? I'm not saying that necessarily the Bitcoin cycle top is going to be September 15th. It's just that around that time, I expect the Pi cycle top. And so really it's largely dependent on the one, September 15th. And now, is it possible that the Pi cycle top could happen afterwards? Yes. But at that point, I would really have no doubt that would be the true Pi cycle top rather than what we saw back in 2012, where we sort of had this half a year later. So I saw this great drawdown. Let me just pull up my account so I can actually tell you guys exactly when Solana, June 14th, it could have been catching a falling knife. It didn't exactly consolidate above $148 yet I bought in, and that's mainly because I'm very bullish on Solana. But from a technical perspective, better day to dollar cost average, and for example, would be today, where we actually broke above 148 once again, and we're starting to form this nice candle above it. In terms of Popcat, same thing, although my approach here is a little bit different. On every red day, I actually bought in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so right here, I'm just observing. Really, I just want us to see price go back above 35 cents. But largely, it's going to be dictated by the Solana price, which is largely going to be dependent on the Bitcoin price. So let's continue to watch out. If you guys have not subscribed yet, but are into Solana and Popcat, please do so. I'm going to be sharing a lot of information over the next 3 months that you guys don't want to miss out on. Come September, there'll probably be a higher frequency of video uploads because it's going to be very key in terms of when I decide to pull out in preparation for 2027 when I'm going to start buying back in, preparing for the next halving cycle. There are a lot of doubts right now as to whether the 4-year cycle still remains intact, whether it's still a valid assumption. For now, I think the safest way is to just assume that we're still in the 4-year cycle pattern, unless proven otherwise, right? Some September, we're going to have to pay extra attention to how the market is reacting. But we'll make more videos when we get there. So thanks for watching and thanks for listening in. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.